This is FightFans Radio.
All right. Let me fix my microphone over here. Welcome, everybody. Brand new episode, FanAddicts MMA show here live on FightFans Radio. I am your host, Erica Lewis. I am also joined by some of my favoriteest people on this planet, David Wolf and Justin Cohee. What's going on, guys?
I'm here, but I think Cohee's dying.
Cohee, are you dying? Like, literally dying?
No, I'm fine.
Oh, okay.
Do I sound like I'm dying?
No, not anymore. You sounded like you were dying for a second, but...
Right? Wasn't there something going on?
I know. Or maybe there's something going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, again.
You know, Cohee, I hope you're not doing something over there I wouldn't do.
I'm literally standing still. I don't know what's going on.
It's all good, man. You're coming in crystal clear when you talk.
All right.
So today is Friday, September 7th. Man, this summer went by fast. All the kiddies should be back in school, or at least getting ready to go back to school. They should be back in school by now. I'm just letting you know. Your kids should be in school by now.
Justin, what the fuck is going on there, man?
I know. It is weird. It sounds like you're, like, throwing things across the mouthpiece of your phone.
It's a little worse than weird.
I honestly do not know what's happening.
Where are you at? Are you, like, on the road?
No, I'm standing in my living room. I'm, like, standing completely still, trying not to move and make any noise. So I don't know what
it goes away when you talk, so I guess that means that you should probably host a show.
You gotta constantly talk, dude. Start now.
Well, here, I'll hang up and call right back, and you just start talking, and I'll call right back.
Well, we told you to talk, but fine. You know, really slow news week again, and we were talking about that right before we came on air, and I think we kind of got off topic. I had to go in today to Fight Metric for some training, and I was talking to a couple of guys in the office, and we got to talking about Breaking Bad and The Wire, and the reason they both came up, and David pointed this out earlier too, they are not similar shows, other than the fact that that drugs tend to be a central subject matter. But I've never seen The Wire, and one of the guys in the office said, if you like Breaking Bad, the pace of both shows is similar, meaning in his mind he thought Breaking Bad was slow as it started up. Justin is just now actually watching Breaking Bad, so he could probably pipe in on this too. But he was saying that Breaking Bad was a little slow starting up, and that in that respect, The Wire is similar. And David was actually saying that I don't even know what you were saying because we went on air. You were disputing that claim that perhaps they can be compared in terms of pace.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think Breaking Bad was ever slow.
No.
The Wire, it's about the entire thing, and there's a saying, David Simon's theme of the show is all the pieces matter, from the first season through the fifth. And even in the first season, what's so different about The Wire, and David Simon was very lucky because HBO did not care about ratings, but cared about making itself known as a prestigious station. You know, it's not TV, it's HBO. So The Wire got dismal ratings because there's no immediate payoff on the series. It is, I guess you could say, slow paced. And in the first season, you really have to stick with it. You don't get payoffs episode to episode. You get a payoff over the whole season.
Right.
And in addition, you get a payoff over the entire series. But it's extraordinary what they really did with the show. I'm not exaggerating. I think it deserves some type of like Nobel Prize. It's not only for entertainment, because it is entertaining, but it's like a sociology class. They should be teaching this in schools. It is extraordinary. Season to season, they change the focus. The first season is the drug trade. And the next season, they go to the docks in Baltimore, and people were talking about it being boring, but it's amazing if you give it a chance. And then the season after that, they look at government. And the season following that, they look at education. And the fourth season, it's absolutely heartbreaking. They have these kids. I mean, The Wire, I cried a lot during that fourth season, and I don't think I'm alone. That fourth season is the best single season of television I've ever seen of any show. And in the fifth season, things wrap up. I think the fifth season is probably its weakest, but The Wire would be the show I'd name first before anything. And I have like a holy trinity of television shows, and it's The Wire, The Sopranos, and Breaking Bad. And Breaking Bad is really kind of surpassing The Sopranos, especially in its entirety. Because The Sopranos, I think you mentioned, Erica, that you didn't watch the entire series.
No, I was never really into HBO shows, to be honest with you. I don't find them, in general, mostly compelling, or as compelling as some other, station shows. AMC, I think, has got amazing shows. I think I like Showtime's shows. I like Starz shows. I just never really got into the HBO stuff. I never got into the Sex and the City or the Sopranos, or I haven't gotten to Game of Thrones. I have a hard time dealing with the whole
that whole environment, you or whatever you want to call it, of medieval sorceries.
Yeah,
not for me. It's supposed to be a great show, but it's not for me.
To kind of jump in about the sorcery elements of Game of Thrones, that was one of my hesitations about whether or not I was going to watch the show when I started seeing previews of it, because at first I thought it was just going to be like purely medieval stuff, and it was going to be very ingrained and somewhat historical elements and that sort of thing. But even the elements of sorcery that have been given in the two seasons of the show thus far, it's not in your face like Harry Potter type sorcery. It's like, okay, this chick has a few baby dragons, but that's it. Like, they're not like these badass animals that go around and destroy shit and breathe fire and people are trying to kill them. They're just like they say it in the show, they're no bigger than cats and they're weak and they're like, there's nothing special about them right now.
So everything you've said so far makes me want one, actually. How do I get one?
And then there's like a couple other sorcery type elements to it, but it's not like at the forefront of the show. The real like crux of the show is, in all honesty, is the conversations that these characters have. I don't know if you guys watch Nip Tuck at all or familiar with Peter Dinklage's work, but he is a phenomenal actor. His character alone is just...
He's the little guy, right?
Yeah, just he makes the entire show.
He's also the guy from the both the British and the American remake of Death at a Funeral. He is the...
I haven't seen it.
He plays a gay midget. Like he crashes some guy's funeral, like his family's all like mourning and stuff, and he's like, "Yeah, your dad was totally bonking me, and I'm blackmailing all of you." It was very funny, but go ahead.
And then like so I mean, he's won a couple of Emmys for the show because he's just simply incredible, because it's really cool to see how, and for lack of a better term, he makes up for his shortcomings, physically with his intellect and his trickery and that sort of thing. And then there's like these conflicts, about what's honorable, what's not honorable, and it's about these houses and the families and their interactions and their conflicts. And yeah, there's a little bit of a supernatural element to it, but it's so minuscule, and it's just, they just kind of go with it just enough that it feels very like it's supposed to be there. Like it doesn't seem out of place.
Right. Yeah. Okay. You know what? I'll give it a try. Since you put it that way, I definitely will give it a try.
I would actually recommend that you read the books over watching the show.
Oh wow. You're gonna make me read?
They're long books. They are, but what what the show fails to do that the books really do is that they kind of flesh out some backstories. Like, you jump into the show and they introduce you to these characters that there's like, hundreds and hundreds of years of history that they don't really, that they'll mention this old character, blah, blah, blah. And if you hadn't read the books, you probably have to jump on Wikipedia and read the backstory. Like, the King Robert in the first season, they refer to him as the usurper and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, well, why the hell did they call him the usurper? He's the king. It's like, well, he led this rebellion that they kind of allude to and mention every now and then, but don't really flesh out. So,
right.
I would actually recommend reading the books. I'm in the middle of the second one right now, and they're fantastic.
I've heard some people say, and I think David and I can really, I don't know how much TV you actually watch, Kohi. I think David and I can probably agree. A lot of people are saying that there's nothing good to watch on television, and I would disagree with that up and down, 120%.
TV's better than movies.
Yeah,
Best of TV.
By far. And I'm actually looking at the list of like Emmy nominations this year, and some of the shows that they nominate, even though being nominated for an award does not necessarily make you, quote unquote, a good show. It just means that it can also be a popularity contest with some shows where they just have a lot of viewers and there's a lot of people behind it, so it tends to get nominated. And I don't know what show would fall under that, but that has happened in the past before, where a show's been nominated and everybody's like, say what? But it's really good. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Kohi.
Well, my view, my view with TV is pretty much similar to my view with movies. I mean, there's some really, really good stuff out there. There's some mediocre stuff, and then there's just some absolute shit. And usually
movies is almost all absolute shit.
How you dare you, Kohi, talk about Honey Boo Boo Child like that? Honey Boo Boo Child should be up for...
Oh, my God. Like, shows like that, and, like, people wonder why, like, half of America is, like, partially retarded.
Then you have Breaking Bad, Boardwalk Empire, Mad Men, Justified, Sons of Anarchy.
Do you watch Justified as well, David?
Me? Yeah.
I
like
that. Well, I like oh my God, Timothy.
Yeah, he did
Oliphant. Yes, I really, really like him. Like, he just has. There is something, and it's not just the character he plays. There's something about him as an actor, and he tends to play very similar characters. I mean, he's gone kind of outside of his norm a few times, but he tends to play very similar characters. But he's so good at that character, and that character is so mesmerizing. I just love the fact that he decided to jump in television and kind of bring that to people on a weekly basis.
I haven't seen the third season because I actually just got into it more recently.
Have you guys watched Hell on Wheels at all?
I've tried to get into it. I love Common. I can't. I don't know. He's still Common. Like, I'm expecting him to like break into a song any second now. Like,
well, I saw it on Netflix and I like watched when the second season premiered like maybe a couple of weeks ago. So they were replaying the entire first season on AMC. So I was like, I'll sit down and start watching it, and then eventually got distracted and had to leave the apartment, so I couldn't watch it. But I felt like the first 20 minutes that I saw were actually really good. But
yeah, I mean, I can tell it's a very well made show. I have a hard time getting into it, but it is definitely AMC is kind of knocking them out of the park lately. I know you said you weren't quite as enamored with The Walking Dead, but what I love about The Walking Dead is, and what a lot of other people seem to hate, they're like, there's not enough zombies in it. The zombies can get boring after a while. Like, if it's just wave after wave of zombies, it gets boring. But what I like is, how would everyday people behave in a time like this? That's what I like to see, because you're not going to have. This isn't like a Steven Seagal movie. Like, people aren't suddenly going to become absolute badasses. People who are already badasses will maintain the badass nature, or they'll crumble under pressure. But I like that. I like seeing the human condition. I like seeing the human psyche being tested in this environment. I think
maybe my hesitation with the show is that I'm very, was just, watching the first episode, and it's, it starts off like every other goddamn zombie movie, or,
Oh, yeah. I mean...
You like that, there's a guy in the hospital, he wakes up, shit's hit the fan, and he's walking around, and they have to explain to him what happened. And, maybe I've just because I watch a lot of zombie movies. I like like Dawn of the Dead and all those movies, or like 28 Days. But
technically,
I've seen
28
so many
days.
of those movies, it takes me a minute to just kind of.
Say it's not a zombie movie.
Yeah, 28 Days technically is not a
She's gonna
zombie
lecture
movie.
you.
People like to say that it's a zombie movie. It is not a zombie movie. Technically, a zombie is somebody who is a reanimated dead corpse. People in 28 Days did not actually die. They got infected, but they did not.
So there,
die.
Justin.
You can tell I'm such a zombie dork, right?
I knew that was coming.
Shut up. They're technically not.
I know.
And the Olympics.
I'm agreeing with you.
The Olympic speed
advance.
running. Yeah, no. Zombies. At no point should a zombie have the mental capacity to tell it's now dead and decaying muscles to run that fast. Like it makes no sense.
If Justin's not even a real zombie fan, then maybe Walking Dead's not for him.
I dig it. I like the fact that the guy who is I'm
fucking with you, Justin.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, no, that's the thing. Like, I understand that the differences and that sort of thing. I think it's just it's easy to say zombies versus
infected people
or something. It's just
when you break down
corpse.
the 28 Days movies, and in the very first one they explain what it is, and it's hate. Because remember, that's what they were infecting the monkeys with in the beginning. They somehow managed
that's the reason why that's one of the more terrifying versions of a zombie-like creature that I've ever seen in my life.
It's so bizarre, though. It's so bizarre. Like, they infected the monkeys with hate. So the monkeys were just hateful. They were just full of the hate. And
that's what's crazy when they I don't know who they got to if they really
just have to let them go to a Republican convention.
Well, I don't know if they when they were picking extras that they were like, we need you guys to look like someone just stomped on your puppy or something, or just insulted your mother, and then I want you to be drooling blood and chasing me at the same time, because every one of those people looked like they were angry and shit and out of their goddamn minds, and it was scary as hell.
That should have been the tagline to the movie: anger and shit.
Average Republican.
Yeah, which is sad. Very, very sad.
It was. That could be Henzo Gracie's new tagline.
Oh yeah. Hold on a second. Well, I guess this is a good way to segue back into some MMA, some actual MMA stuff. Since I guess you guys kind of listen to us for MMA stuff, but you can't blame us that there's not really a whole lot out there, people. But I
say blame John Jones.
Yeah. I'm blaming him for everything.
Thanks, John Jones. Second straight week.
I'm blaming John Jones for bad stuff, and I'm attributing good stuff to Honey Boo Boo Child. So that's kind of where I am right now as a person.
And I'm pouring myself another drink.
So, Henzo Gracie apparently stopped a mugging.
Live tweeted evidence of an assault and battery. That's what he did.
That's pretty badass. It's upsetting that I can't get Henzo Gracie to do an interview with us, and he always gives me the runaround. But
when he's sitting in jail, maybe it'll be easier.
I don't know. He only gets one phone call then.
It'll be us, FightFans Radio.
It would sound like he's calling from Blog Talk Radio.
He could call for some legal advice, like if you're going to chase down quote unquote muggers and beat the crap out of them and choke them out 3 times, don't live tweet it.
Oh yeah, that's not good, huh? That's not good at all, is it, David?
Well, no,
his story is that he chased these guys down and beat the crap out of them. And like I said on my wall, I think maybe this stuff flies in Brazil, but not the U.S.
Yeah, and he's tweeting the guy's response, and he was like, "Jesus, all I wonder what's a cigarette. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this?" And then the other guy runs away, and then Enzo goes and finds him, chokes him out, and then proceeds to quote unquote raccoon him, which means he punches his eye sockets so that
he choked him out 3 times, right?
Yeah,
wasn't that? And this is Henzo's side of the story.
So I mean, I know neither one of you are
criminal defense attorneys,
but that sounds bad. Like, that does not sound good. I mean, if he had been in the state of Florida and they were, of a even more infuriating minority than him, then possibly it'd be okay. But
well, I don't know what infuriates me more: the fact that Henzo was tweeting that live and making it sound like it was okay, or all the websites that were posting the story this morning and glorifying it and making Henzo out to be some fucking hero. And it was like, no, I mean, it was like, two guys are walking behind me. I think they're muggers. I better kick the shit out of them. It was like, what? I mean, he was like, they think I'm drunk. And I was like, well, you're tweeting at 3 a.m. walking around by yourself. Like, what the hell were you doing?
You know, hold on a second. I'm actually going to tweet this. We're talking about Henzo's, how would you put this? About Henzo's
assault and battery.
Stopping a mugging.
Put mugging in quotes.
Sounds more like assault to me.
That's assault, brother.
Unless you're in Florida.
Well, and maybe they had Skittles and hoodies, but he actually had pics of them, and I didn't see any hoodies.
I mean, do you think that he'll get in trouble for that? I mean, we've seen people.
He very well could. I mean, this is the local police department. I'm sure is going to be made aware of this, even if these guys don't press charges. Henzo. Plus, once these guys find out Henzo is famous, they may. This is both a crime and these guys can sue him civilly. They could take over his gym.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
not kidding about that. Like,
yeah.
They could fucking get his school.
And I agree with you, Justin. I think it's a little, what's the word I'm looking for? A little juvenile for all these MMA websites to be glorifying. Yeah, it's not.
I mean, there seemed to be very little suggestion that what Henzo did was just wrong on all accounts. Like, if you think you're getting mugged and you can get away, get away. You know, you certainly don't go chasing people down. There's some very superficial analogies that you can make to George Zimmerman, but it's ridiculous.
I'm actually trying to Google a story, and I recall reading it probably a couple years ago where a man, a robber, we'll call him a robber, tried to break into this dude's house, and the dude chased him out of the house, caught up with him, and then did I believe a rear naked choke on him and actually killed him. And if I'm not mistaken, he went to jail for that. Like, you can't then pursue the person. And
you can only use enough force to subdue. You can only meet force with the force necessary at the time. Like, if someone's threatening your life, you don't have to try to shoot them in the kneecaps. You can shoot them in the head. But if you shoot them in the kneecaps and the threat is subdued, you can't then walk over and shoot them in the head.
Right.
Right. I mean, you're also talking, are you defending yourself or you're defending your home? If a guy is, breaking into your home to, take your TV or something, you can't, like, murder or killing is not a justifiable defense, when...
In some states it might be. I think in some crazy states it is, actually.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the small percentage. Like, in most cases, it's, you can't kill someone in defense of your home. But, like, in, self-defense, like, if someone's, like, pointing a gun at you, about, like, shooting at you or something, yeah, exactly like David said. You don't have to aim for kneecaps, just, blow his head off, and then you're, that's self-defense. I mean, it has to be, like, somewhat equal. Like, if, someone's swinging at you, with their bare hands, you can't, like, pull out a gun and, like, shoot him in the chest and be like, oh, self-defense. It's like, well, no, it has to be, like, at least somewhat manageable and equal.
Wow. Okay, so I did find the story, and Steve Cofield wrote it on Cage Writer on the Yahoo Sports blog, and this happened. He wrote the story. Oh, son of a bitch! How do you not have the year on your story? You have the day of the week, the date, the time you wrote it, and the time zone, but not the year. Seriously, people. The crime happened in July of 2010 in Bridgewater, New Jersey. A man, so it was him and his wife heard the car alarm go off at Ass o'clock in the morning, the man ran to the street, identified 2 suspects, chased them to the next block. He knocked out one of the suspects, and then I believe the other one he put in a rear naked choke, and the gentleman never recovered. He went unconscious and never recovered from it, and then later died. And he had to plead guilty to. I'm kind of skimming.
At least manslaughter.
Yeah, I mean that's you can't do that, people. I know it sounds very. I know we've all grew up on Charles Bronson and Steven Seagal.
Vigilante justice is great,
Yeah,
but first of all, it's not even clear that these guys are trying to mug him. But even assuming they were, and Henzo was 100% right, like, legally he could be in a lot of hot water, criminally and again civilly. Once these guys find out who he is, there's going to be a big lawsuit.
Yeah, I think there is.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you? Why would you not?
That's a good point. That's a really
Why
good
wouldn't you
point.
sue this guy for everything he's worth?
Yeah, I don't.
And there's going to be no evidence at all that they actually wanted to mug him. Let's say they did. There's not going to be evidence, and they're going to just claim to be innocent guys that were chased down and beat by this guy horribly, and he's provided the evidence of it. It's going to cost him a lot of money in the long run, and maybe some freedom.
Yeah, I mean Henzo. All joking aside, seems like
we should join in and talk
guy.
about how great Henzo is. Wow, it's so awesome. I'm seeing stuff on Facebook already. They're doing little photoshops.
Oh yeah, of course.
Why don't you Photoshop his face in a jail?
They're
burning money.
All kinds of memes right now.
But none of the memes stress what should be stressed, which is, I mean, this was plain wrong, stupid, and he's probably gonna end up in a lot of trouble one way or the other.
The only person that's like said anything like remotely intelligent on the matter is Matt Roth. Like he put an article up on Bleacher Report today, and he was like, I don't know why everyone's getting all up, like praising Henzo when this is pretty much a pretty clear aggravated assault.
According to his own side of the story, that's what I find so amazing.
Yeah.
Normally you'd be like, let's see what Henzo has to say about it, but he's already given his side.
Yeah, the only side we know is his side, and it sounds awful.
It condemns him on all grounds. It's completely admissible.
How horrifying would that be to be the guy like you got choked out 3 times? Like you get choked out, you pass out, you come to and like, oh thank God I'm awake. Oh no, I'm getting choked out again. And then you come to again, and then you're like, oh thank God I'm still alive. Oh wait, I'm going out again.
I have to tell you, without any permanent damage, he's gonna get a lot of money for getting choked out a few times. It probably seemed worse at the time than it'll seem in a few days, or maybe right now.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll continue to cover the story as we find out more information and let you know if and when legal action is taken against Henzo Gracie, which at this point I think is kind of a no-brainer. It's going to happen. Let's see what else is in MMA news right now. We got Mir and Daniel Cormier, their fight that everybody's been kind of. I'm excited.
The slaughter of Frank Mir.
I don't like Frank Mir, so I'm going to enjoy this fight. I'm looking forward to this fight, and the
looking forward to a man getting his ass handed to him. That's you're not looking forward to a good fight.
No,
because it's not going to be a good. It's going to be a slaughter.
Yeah.
The only question is, will he get out of the first round? And he won't.
No, I don't think he will either. I think Cormier is going to be way too much for him. But November 3rd, I believe, is when it's happening. Strikeforce on Showtime. All right, let's talk about this stupid fight that Dana White keeps bringing up like fans still care. And of course, my opinion is reflected by every MMA fan out there. But GSP Silva, he keeps talking about it, that it would be at a catch weight at 180 if it did happen at Cowboys Stadium. Come on, guys. I mean, really?
Really, I think it would be enormous. But I think the real question is whether GSP is going to beat Carlos Condit, which has to happen before this fight happens. But if GSP beats Carlos Condit, GSP against Anderson Silva would be one of the biggest fights ever, I think.
I mean, people still want to see that. I just feel like GSP comes into this, it's such a disadvantage, just size-wise and...
yeah, but fans don't really think about that. And it depends on what weight they fight at, actually, too.
Well, they're saying the 180, the catch weight of 180, so...
But they may have a stipulation that Anderson can't weigh more than 190-something.
On the night of the fight. I mean, even at that...
It all depends. And it really all depends on what GSP is right now. Like, let's see. Carlos Condit beats GSP, all this talk ends. And no one wants to see Carlos Condit against Anderson Silva, so really, that'll be it. Don't. You know, then GSP will have to beat Carlos Condit, and even if he does, no one's going to want to see a GSP that's just recently been beaten by Anderson.
Let me ask the question. So let's say Carlos Condit does beat George St. Pierre. Let's just play a little bit of...
I think I might pick Carlos Condit when the fight comes around. I'm not sure that GSP is going to be what he was 2 years ago, which is basically how long it's been since he's fought.
I mean, who would you... I guess let me shoot this to you, Kohi. I am playing a little fantasy world here, but let's say that Carlos Condit does beat George St. Pierre in their fight at UFC 154. Who do you think is next in line for the title? And at any point, would you want to see Nick Diaz and Carlos Condit do it again?
Well, I think it's pretty clear at this point that I think the winner of Johnny Hendricks versus Martin Kampmann is the co-main event to Condit GSP. I'm guessing if one guy wins, impressively, that they'll get the title shot. I mean, I think Dana White's already kind of come out and said, oh yeah, it's number one contenders fight, but if they come out there and stink up the cage, then they could very, very easily kind of renege on that. So I think that winner will get the next shot, and then I think at that point you probably do Diaz versus GSP for the next number one contenders fight. We haven't seen Diaz since the loss to Condit. I think it's what I would love to see those two fight again, just because I thought, a lot of people didn't really like their first fight, but I was really impressed with Condit's strategy, and I just thought it was a fantastic fight. And then, Diaz made it really interesting in the end when he had Condit's back for the pretty much most of the fifth round. But I don't know if I'd want to see Condit versus Diaz too right away. I think Diaz needs to come back in the UFC. I think he needs at least one or two good wins to kind of justify a rematch for the title. I think people were really excited to see GSP versus Condit, and if both of them are coming off a loss, looking to jump back into the mix of a title shot, it's not as exciting as them both fighting for the title. But I think what's a better situation, like them coming, like aside from fighting for the title, than both coming off losses, trying to prove themselves and trying to get back to where they were.
Right. Who would you like to see Nick Diaz face when he came back? Do you have anybody in mind that you think is high enough in the division? Because you can't put Nick Diaz against a scrub, because he would completely annihilate a scrub. But he needs to fight somebody that's really up in the division, but that's not, that.
What about Koscheck? Who's he fighting?
Yeah, I was about to say that. I mean, that's Koscheck's role all over it. Not only do you have someone who is been at the top, like as close to the top without being champion. He's mouthy as hell, so those two going back and forth would probably sell quite a few tickets. And despite the fact that he's one of the top guys in the division, at this point in his career, he's still beatable. He's pretty beatable.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah,
I like that fight a lot, actually.
Yeah.
Nick Diaz against Josh Koscheck. I'm interested in seeing that fight.
I'm interested in seeing the build-up to the fight.
And the fight itself.
Yes, and the fight itself. Don't get me wrong. The fight itself, I'm sure will be...
Agreed. The build-up is all part of it.
The build-up,
The build is part of any... I don't think Justin necessarily agrees, but I think you agree that the build is part of what makes a great fight great.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't disagree with that. I think there's right way to be able to fight, and then there's the way Chael Sonnen does it, which I just happen to disagree with.
I mean, would you say, Justin, that I know you love her. I know she your baby mama. She don't know it yet, but she your baby mama. Would you say Ronda Rousey kind of falls under that too? I think especially with this last fight with Sarah Kaufman, I thought her rhetoric was extremely heavy.
I don't think she's quite, at Chael Sonnen's level of, of being obnoxious and that sort of thing. But at the same time, she's definitely the most outspoken female fighter, which, there's not a whole lot of other female fighters that have the spotlight on them, or there's none that have the spotlight on them like Ronda Rousey does.
I would argue that calling her an outspoken fighter is not accurately portraying what she does. She is definitely a lot closer to Chael Sonnen than just being a quote-unquote outspoken fighter.
I agree with you,
G.
And I'd say as far as Chael Sonnen, I mean, it works. This guy just got offered a light heavyweight title shot after losing his last fight.
Yeah.
You can't argue with success.
To the point where she was talking about Sarah Kaufman and choking her out till she was dead and then ripping off her arm and throwing it in the corner. That's more than outspoken.
But other times she also said that she respects her and that she's a good fighter. Even before the fight.
Yeah, no. I mean, but Chael does that too. I mean, he'll kind of play the whole, I respect him as a fighter and, and then he goes into the whole, but I'm going to go in there and impregnate his wife from the center of the cage or whatever he's going to say. It's always something ridiculous.
Whoa. I don't remember that one.
No, because that was off the top of my head. Chael, copyright, trademark, Erica Lewis. Just letting you know. You got to pay me, baby. Yeah, I don't see a huge difference between them. Obviously, Chael is much more seasoned at it, and he's a lot better at it than she is. She still comes across forced with her.
MMA men's fighting is just way more accepted than women's fighting.
Right.
Like as much as we got into the women's fights and they even did good numbers on Showtime, even comparable to some of the male fights, it's still not nearly as popular.
Right.
Well, I think my issue with Sonnen is that he really mixes in a lot of the cheesy pro wrestling quotes, and then he tries to set up
cheesy?
The loser.
Cheesy?
I mean,
he's taken some classic stuff from Superstar Billy Graham, The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin. It's not cheesy stuff, Justin. Come on.
It's not cheesy to someone who appreciates pro wrestling. Someone who has a strong dislike towards that sort of crap.
Just describing it as crap.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't get into it. So I mean, I'm not saying that other people don't. What I'm saying is that Chael Sonnen, very much adopts a very pro wrestling approach, which has worked for him. Despite my dislike of it. What I think Ronda Rousey does is she takes more of the Nick Diaz, Josh Koscheck kind of approach where she's just a douchey MMA fighter sort of approach,
right,
rather than. I mean, I think there's a difference
between being the douchey and the over the top. Yeah, I mean, I'm willing to give you that.
She does have a nickname from a pro wrestler.
That is true.
Chael does not.
That is very true.
She's not Scottish. She doesn't wear a quilt or kilt.
A quilt?
Wow.
Quilt?
A quilt, sorry.
I'm sure she does wear a quilt every once in a while.
She can wear my quilt.
Oh.
Ooh.
Oh, my.
I don't think she can even find a quilt in that freaking apartment of hers.
Who? Rousey?
Ronda Rousey. You see that fucking apartment?
No.
The fucking sty. You saw the video she did, didn't you?
No, I don't. I don't really watch videos.
She's not kidding when she says it's a fucking mess.
I don't really watch a whole lot of videos. She kind of gets on my nerves now.
Dude, she can be my sugar mama. I'll clean, I'll cook. I have no problem.
You didn't see her armbar the vacuum cleaner, Erica?
Oh, I did see her armbar the vacuum cleaner. Yeah, I did see that.
Did you not see that apartment? Wasn't that her apartment?
I don't know. I'm going to assume it was. Yeah, it was. I do remember thinking that it looked a lot like the apartment I had in college. Yeah.
I just cleaned my apartment. She can come hang out here.
My God.
Oh, Kohi, we're going to make it happen one day. I mean, mind you, we're all going to go to jail because that's the only way we're going to really get it to happen. But it'll happen, man. What else we talk about? So Chris Weidman is now slated to face Tim Boesch at UFC 155. I don't know if that was the right call by the UFC. I mean,
I'm really shocked that Chris Weidman is okay with this fight.
Yeah, I am too. Boesch is pretty up there on a lot of people's rankings, and that's just because of the people that he's beat. But really, Tim Boesch?
Well, my issue with Boesch is that, yeah, he's had a nice little run at 185, but I mean, you look at the guys that he's beat thus far at 185. It was like what, Nick Ring and Kendall Grove, and then he knocked out Yushin Okami in a fight that he was losing badly for the first 2 rounds, and then this win over Hector Lombard. Well, I mean, Hector Lombard wasn't. I mean, I picked him to win, but at the same time, Hector Lombard was pretty unproven in the upper ranks of 185. And then the fight that they had was just completely just not entertaining at all. Some people actually picked Lombard. Some people thought Lombard won the fight. Some people thought Boesch won the fight. And then, Boesch gets the win, but it doesn't really do much for him in my mind. Meanwhile, Chris Weidman just absolutely demolished Mark Munoz. People are clamoring him to get the next title shot. I thought Chris Weidman versus Alan Belcher, when Belfort got moved, would have been a great fight, but then, Belcher, has his back issues. But the weird thing out of all that was that Weidman didn't want to fight Belcher anyway because he didn't think Belcher was ranked high enough.
I think Belcher is a much tougher fight than Tim Boesch.
And so do I, which is why I've not. It doesn't make sense for him to say, well, you know what, Alan Belcher's not the type of guy I want to fight right now. But then he's okay with a fight with Tim Boesch.
Boesch is ranked pretty highly.
He is, and he's definitely pretty up there on a lot of people's list. But in terms of the skills demonstrated in the cage, you have to give it up to Belcher over Boesch. I think
sure, but a win over Boesch might mean a little more. It might be an easier fight.
I think it might be an easier fight.
Or I don't know
if it really carries more weight. I mean, would you think that it carries more?
I think it carries the same weight.
I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. I think people are pretty high on Boesch right now, but I think a lot of people are much more high on Belcher right now, and a lot of people think Belcher is.
He's the next coming.
Probably right there along with like Michael Bisping as a guy that should have been,
I agree. He's more dangerous, but I don't know if there's that wide a view of him right now as that close. I think there is that view among people that know, but I think when you're talking in general, I think a win over Boesch does the same thing as a win over Belcher, and Belcher's probably a tougher fight. So it might make sense to take Boesch.
I think Weidman's going to do pretty much the same thing Phil Davis did to him. Take him down, make him look silly off his back, and then submit him. Easy.
And then he'll be in line for a title shot without having to fight Belcher. I don't know. I think it makes sense.
Not that I wanted to see Belcher face Weidman. Let me clear that up. I didn't want to see that because, and I don't think the UFC wants to see that because I think they also see something in Belcher. And in a division where your champion may any day now decide to hang it up, you really need to start building talent. And I think Belcher is up there. I think Belcher has a lot of really solid talent, and the UFC will be able to use that. Obviously, Weidman's got a lot of talent. The UFC is going to use that. I'm trying to think who else. Bisping, obviously. Bisping, Brian Stann. I don't know if Brian Stann necessarily is quite as diverse as the other guys, but he is charismatic as I don't know what, and he looks like Superman. The day that they can bring Jacare to the UFC, I would be so happy about that. People were talking about that after his fight with Derek Brunson. Maybe the UFC is going to bring Jacare to their bit of weight. And it's like people forgot about that whole contract thing that we talked about. And, even Meltzer wrote an article on it. It's not happening. It's not happening anytime soon if it does.
Well, speaking of Jacare, what did you guys think of him getting completely jumped over for a title shot, and Luke Rockhold's now facing Lorenz Larkin for his next title defense?
I mean, if anything, if you're a casual fan if you're a casual fan of MMA and you don't really pay attention to the news and stuff, you are now aware of how thin Strikeforce's divisions are. Like, if you were not aware of it before, that title fight announcement should pretty much that the light bulb should be going off. If it didn't already go off, then give it a minute. Now it should be on now. Right about now, it should be on. So I don't know how much longer Strikeforce really has, man. They really are. They did sign what's his name, Ahmed Khalif or something like that. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Khalidov.
Yeah, that dude.
He fights the 170, so I mean, that's a pretty decent fight for Nate Marquardt, maybe.
Yeah, and I think Nate Marquardt looks pretty amazing at 170.
God, I I talk so much crap about him, and he's the one person to ever block me on Twitter, but for some reason, like, I was sitting at work the other day, and just this week, and I was like, you know what? I need to find a GIF file real quick of his finish at Tyron Woodley, because that is it's artistic to watch. It is
pretty beautiful.
And so, I just, brought it up on my screen and wasted my lunch hour staring at this GIF file loop for an hour.
Wow. I mean, it is extremely impressive, and
you stared at that thing for an hour?
I mean, he did.
Oh, I'm probably exaggerating. I probably watched it loop 25 times.
I was going to...
He was like, up and to the left. Up and to the left. Okay, what else we got here on the MMA front? I know we got a couple other things.
ONE FC actually stop their stupid soccer kick rule and just allow soccer kicks like Pride did. It's just completely open season on soccer kicks now, rather than having to look at the ref, get the hand signal, then kick the dude in the face.
Yeah, that's a pretty stupid rule.
So let me ask you this: this is you can't argue that this isn't reactionary to what happened within the last show that they had. Where
Baroni went crazy.
Baroni went crazy. And got the win, and then Tim Sylvia gets his head kicked off by Arlovsky, and Arlovsky gets disqualified for it. So, do you think that with the change of this rule that they should change that it should be changed? I mean, I don't know how their athletic commission works over there. I don't know if it's the same.
They're in the Philippines. It's probably open. There probably isn't one.
Right. So. I don't know. I feel like the results of those fights should be changed, or of the Arlovsky one at the very minimum should be changed from no contest.
What was strange for the Arlovsky fight was that it was ruled a no contest rather than a disqualification, which didn't make sense to me, given that it's like, okay, this guy uses an illegal head kick, hits the guy, and the guy can't continue. That's a disqualification. That's not a no contest. That's not like an accidental eye poke or something of that nature.
Yeah.
I see where you're coming with in that the Baroni fight and the Arlovsky fight pretty much ended the same way but had different results.
Yeah.
But I don't know if there's really anything you can do at that point. I think Arlovsky's lucky he didn't come up with a loss, so I think to go in there and fight it would be kind of silly.
I think you're silly.
But like you said, I mean, I really don't know what sort of athletic commission the Philippines has in order, or if they have one at all, or
Yeah, obviously I don't have the answer to that either, but I don't know. I feel like it's only fair, although fair and MMA rarely ever meet on the same street. So, oh wow, I did not realize this. I was kind of perusing Bloody Elbow's homepage to see what kind of articles they had up. Maybe we could kind of talk shit about them, even though we have not done any research whatsoever on them. But Dave Meltzer is reporting that there was at least $40 million in losses for the cancellation of UFC 151. And again, that proves that at the very minimum they should have tried to put on something. There was a question today about whether they should have just moved the flyweights from 152. Not an amazing headliner, but it would have been a title fight, and it's a headlining match, and brought that to UFC 151.
Does he say where he gets his numbers in that article? I saw.
You know what? I think it was basing. I actually don't think that's exactly what he reported. I think he reported what UFC was claiming or what he heard from some UFC people, and then he did his own estimates, and I think it was closer to 10 million is what he approximated. But those are really, I don't think those are very reliable numbers.
Yeah, well, I mean, I just don't understand, like, yeah, they canceled this event, there's the gate, among other things. I'm just kind of, I don't know, that seems like a lot of money.
Well, I think that's also taking into account some of the outside vendors and stuff, and the money that they lost from it, like the hotels and the restaurants and all that stuff. You're right. That is an amazingly bloody elbow thing to do right there. But I think he's saying within the UFC, the estimated figure is 20 million. Is what his article is saying. That's what the little blurb said. So that's still a lot of money. And all you people out there still thinking John Jones is the one to blame for this, you need to shut the fuck up.
Well, Dana White actually, I mean, had that little interview with, I think, John Anik on Fuel TV, and
it was Ariel Helwani, and
whatever.
You're like, they're all the same. Are you racist? Are you saying all white dudes look the same?
Yeah, all white people look the same. I look like Ariel Helwani.
Except you're 8 feet taller than him. But okay, go ahead.
But no, Dana did kind of change his tone a little bit, which was refreshing to hear. He was like, it would have been nice if Henderson had kind of given us some heads up, because he knew he was injured 3 weeks out, blah blah blah. But then he completely ruins it again. He's like, but I don't regret anything I said.
Yeah, that's what gets me, is that he's not willing to admit that he was wrong at any part of this, which is so immature. That's such a tiny-minded way of approaching things. And then, I was talking with my boss today. I'm sorry if I'm going in and out. My microphone is playing tricks on me. I was talking with my boss today, and I said, I'm supposed to go to UFC 153 in Rio, right? So that's October 13th. There's a lot that goes into booking me the tickets, because you need a visa to go to Brazil. It's not like Canada, where you can just be like, hey, I'm in Canada, I have my passport. They need to know you're coming ahead of time. So I got my visa stuff cleared, and then I got my passport and stuff, and then they have to buy me the ticket, which is not cheap, and then they're paying for my hotel and all this stuff, right? What if I just 8 days out was like, you know what? I have not been feeling well the last, 3 weeks. I got a bad case of the HIV, and I just can't go. I would lose my position. I'm sure they would lose
in other positions as well.
I know. That's a lot of positions being lost all in one fell swoop. But I would lose my job. That's unacceptable. That is extremely unacceptable. And I know the fight game, people get hurt all the time, but if you know it that far in advance, you need to let them know. And it was also pointed out that perhaps the reason he didn't say that is because he was afraid that they would take him out when he told them to begin with. And my answer is, yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
And that would have been fine.
That's what they're supposed to do. They can't hold their breath in bated anticipation for you to let them know whether or not you can actually make the fight. I mean, because that's just ridiculous. That is poor planning on everybody's part. The UFC 151 was a lot of poor planning by the UFC, all coming to a head. It all crashed together, and Dana White can play the denial game all he wants, but at the end of the day, the fault, in my opinion, and I think you guys kind of share this opinion with me, I rest squarely on the UFC's shoulders. At no point should you be making a card that falls apart like that. You've never had to cancel a card before in the past, but we've had some really, really bad cards because you've had to put them on. So what was different this time other than you felt slighted that John Jones wouldn't fight the guy that you thought he should fight? And it just all came out making them look like, petulant children,
Well, what I thought it was, another thing that I thought was pretty funny is like you've got all these fighters coming out, specifically like Charlie Brenneman and some of the lower ranking fighters being like, look, I was supposed to get paid, now my flight's been moved, and I got bills to pay and all this kind of stuff, and I'm pretty sure all those guys got paid. And it was like, so, I mean, that's one thing that I'll say kudos to the UFC for, that they made an effort to take care of their guys in that sort of position, but they shouldn't have to do that. They shouldn't have to pay guys for not fighting because they have to scrap an entire card because Jay Haran is in your co-main event. I mean,
so
that shouldn't happen. That shouldn't happen.
So, and then here's another thing that kind of pissed me off. And again, with John Jones, the amount of people who are willing to completely accept that it's his fault and look for any reason to even pile it on more. There was a report that came out that said that John Jones offered to pay all the fighters purses, and that didn't end up happening. The immediate reaction was that John Jones withdrew his offer, which is asinine. That is absolutely asinine. First off, it is the UFC's fault. So if John Jones is offering to pay this because he feels like the UFC is not willing to do that, the UFC needs to tell John Jones no. At no point should you have to come out of pocket for your employer's mistake. That is just ridiculous. And for people to say to assume that John Jones withdrew that offer is just, I don't get it. I really don't understand the hate. I can understand if you dislike him. You can dislike any fighter for any reason, but it's the hate for John Jones. It is deep-seated hate. It's like he came into your bedroom and touched you in your naughty spot, and you just hate him. I don't understand. I really don't. All right, I'm sorry. We got a caller. I believe this is Terrence. Terrence, is it you?
Hey, what's up, gang? What's going on?
Hey, what's going on, Terrence?
Terrence.
What's up, Terrence?
Nothing much, man. Y'all kicked on the John Jones thing, so I figured I'd just, slide in, get some commentary, I guess.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on this? And I know you had this UFC 151 talk. It's actually starting to make me a little nauseous. But give me your point of view on some of this stuff, Terrence.
Well, I think, we talked about like the first week after that it happened, pretty much, spill my beans on that. But, this week alone, listening to Dana's interview and listening to John Jones' interview, Jones really struck me as a guy that he's really hurt. And when he was interviewed by Ariel on MMAfighting.com, he chose his words very carefully, Jones did, as far as he felt like a piece of meat. He now knows where he stands. He brought up the fact that he fought 4 times in 1 year, and now this one time that he turned the fight down, he's nothing. So he was real hurt. And then, the same night, Dana come on, UFC Tonight, and, he just basically just said, he's not taking nothing back. He doesn't feel sorry for what he said about Jones, what he said about Jackson. So it goes to show to me that Dana hasn't grown up, won't grow up. And for him to blame Jones on a card that they put together, and if I'm not mistaken, there's been many events that they have canceled the main event and they still went with something else.
Yeah.
So
at the very minimum, they go with the co-main event. And we've seen that a lot of times. Where the main event gets canceled.
A lot of times, cards were in, and not that long ago, they had a Vegas card. Maybe a year or two ago, they had to change the main event, and it was a scrub fight, but they put it on. So there was a lot more behind this than just what they want us to see. But it just shows that Dana hasn't grown up, And for him to say, well, when we see each other, we squash it, cool. If not, he's not going to lose no sleep over it, and he doesn't take anything back that he said. And that would really shock me that he came on, a network forum and he didn't, take nothing back. So I'm just still really disappointed in Dana White for what he said and still the way he's still acting about the situation 2 weeks later.
Yeah, just not a good representative for the sport at all. I know we say this a lot, and it gets tired, and it's become almost a joke, but it really is such a disservice to us at this point having him as a representative of the sport. So
he thinks he's Vince McMahon, and then a lot of stuff that he does now and the things that he say it's our way or it's no way.
Right.
And if you look at how Vince McMahon runs his business, Dana White is trying to do that. A case in point this week or last week, Frankie Edgar gets the title shot in the division he hasn't fought in. So it's just who they want to fight for these titles. Why have rankings if you're just going to pick a guy at random to get a title shot when you got the number 2, number 3, number 4 contender sitting right there? So
yeah,
it's just case in point.
So there was there's constant speculation about the actual weight or influence, I should say, that Fox has on some of the UFC's decisions, even if they're not directly linked to Fox shows. But the pay-per-views are linked to FX or Fuel by way of the prelims, so the cancellation of that also messed up those stations in terms of what they were going to show that day. But so here's my question for you, Terrence. With this Fox 5 card coming up, and it's stacked, do you think that is an indication that Fox has actually come in and said, we've let you guys kind of do this part of it, and now this is what we want to see. This is exactly what we want to see. Or do you think it was vice versa? Do you think it was Fox in the beginning, like Dana White is claiming, and that now the UFC is quote unquote taking the reins?
Yeah. I think Fox right now is really disappointed, and I think they've been disappointed for a while. And with this latest cancellation, they're losing an event date, which they had. So I think you're going to see Fox iron like a little more harsher. And just look, what we got coming up in 2 weeks. We got the Ultimate Fighter, 16, 17, 19. I don't know which one it is, but they got that one coming up. And they elected Roy Nelson and Shane Carver, who I haven't seen fight in maybe 2 years. And you're telling me that's supposed to, reinvigorate the ratings for that show. So it tells me that everything is not too cozy. And if that show comes in with numbers that was lower than the last season, I mean, what position would the UFC be in if Fox say, well, maybe we need to, put a little more hands-on with this thing. Maybe we need to bump some of these shows up earlier, later, tape delay. I mean, it could have a lot of different ramifications because you have to look that they thought they were getting something that was going to rise the numbers, sort of say FX maybe when it came on. Sure, Fuel TV numbers are okay, but it's Fuel TV. So, in the realm of things, Fox really don't need them. Fox just really wanted them under the umbrella, but at the end of the day, they're not the NFL, they're not MLB, so if Fox got to, brush the UFC off a little bit, then I think they will.
What do you think of this new organization that's coming out, and it's headed by Ray Sefo?
World Series of Poker. World Series of Fighting.
Yes. Everybody gets like a bracelet, a gold bracelet. They don't have the belts anymore. It's just a bracelet.
When I read the bio yesterday for it, and it said it's going to be a tournament that's going to last for a year. They're going to try to crown 4 or 5 champions. It immediately brought me to the movie Warrior. And I'm like, this sounds just like the movie Warrior, where they're going to try to crown a champion in all these weight classes, looking for the best fighters in the world. So, very interesting. It's very interesting. They got a TV deal.
Yes.
They talk about putting on 8 to 10 events. I don't know how they're going to do that. But
it's going to be on NBC Sports, which I think is that's a pretty big.
What used to be Versus.
Deal, yeah, and then it was just recently rebranded NBC Sports. I don't know how well that station is doing right now, but
well, from what I heard, that a lot of people are already worried about the longevity of the organization because apparently the payouts that they're already, or the contracts that they're already offering these fighters is like supposed to be like insanely good money for, you know, the level of fighters that they're going to be getting. You know, like, I mean, I'm excited to see Gerald Harris fight because I'm a big Gerald Harris fan.
Yeah.
So I think that's cool to see him in an organization. But like, you know, to come out and be like one of your stars, to kind of flesh out like, oh yeah, you know, one of our stars, former UFC fighter Josh Berkman. Like, okay. I mean, I don't know. Number one, NBC Sports / Versus hasn't had MMA since the UFC was on there. UFC and WEC were on there.
Right.
So that's been a number of years. You're bringing in, you know, this strange kind of format. Like, and Terrence, maybe you can help me out with this. Do they have weight classes, or like heavyweights going to be fighting welterweights and that sort of stuff?
It looks like they have weight classes.
They're going to have 5 different weight classes, from what I understand, and they're going to, you know, crown the champions over a 8 to 10 card period. So they're going to have the basic standard heavyweight, light heavyweight.
Okay, because I don't know. I just like perfect.
It's not taking place in some Indian reservation, is it?
It's not what?
Like it's going to be regulated by commissions, right? They never allow.
Yeah, well, it's at Planet Hollywood Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
So
You can never have.
Well, no, that was my thing. Like I heard, like there was some talk about, you know, it's like running these tournaments and finding out the best fighter in the world, and like I sort of heard like no talk of weight classes. So that's why I was just like, Jesus. So like, how are they getting through with this? But okay, that was just a misunderstanding on my part.
So, do you know the card?
But I mean, they get guys like Miguel Torres. So I mean,
well, the card is actually, it's got some really, at least for hardcore MMA fans, some recognizable names. And you know, you mentioned Gerald Harris versus Josh Berkman, JZ's Cavalcante versus John Gunderson, which you know, Gunderson was in the UFC at one point. Honey Torres versus Brian Cobb. Both of those guys were in the UFC at some point. Gregor Gracie versus Tyson Steele. I have no idea who Tyson Steele is, but
sounds like a porn name.
I think it might be a porn name. There are other fighters on the card who do not have opponents right now, but that's Miguel Torres, of course, who was main eventing.
Sounds as good as Bellator.
Yeah, actually more recognizable names than Bellator.
Yeah, really. You know, free fights. I'm not.
No, like yeah, I had no idea about a lot of those fights. I didn't know Jay-Z was signed up with them. I didn't know that Honey Torres versus Brian Cobb. That's a scrap right there. That's a great fight.
Well, Holes Gracie is also on the card. He doesn't have an opponent. James McSweeney is on the card, doesn't have an opponent. And Bobby Lashley is on the card with no opponent.
Oh, kill me.
I'm still going to watch it. I'm still going to enjoy it. I'm going to enjoy myself.
Oh, it's free. I'm going to watch it, definitely. But just got to worry about how long they can pull this off. You know, are they going to overpay the fighters? Are they going to fall into what Affliction did? You know, I'm really interested in how they're going to do this. I already heard they're not going to allow elbows to a grounded opponent. That's one rule change they're going to do. So they got some kinks they're going to, you know, new kinks and twists they're going to put in, a 10-sided cage. Very interesting. So
it sounds like TNA.
No, isn't it like in a decagon or something, like a 10-sided cage?
Yes, it is.
Oh, so is this actually going to appreciably change anything for anyone? I mean, it's so stupid. It's like when TNA had the 6-sided ring.
Right.
Yeah, no, it's
fucking retarded, helmet retarded shit.
They didn't announce another fight, or Dana White just announced another fight on FX6 in Australia. Son of a bitch. I didn't know it was going to be in Australia. I'm sorry.
Going to that one?
No, I am not, and I'm a little upset about that. But Husamar Polaris versus Hector Lombard is now booked for that card. So
that's
nice.
I think that's a nice.
That's a great fight.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
That's some like short, stocky 185ers right there.
Yeah, it is. Getting tired, real quick.
At least they're not fighting in Denver. Jesus, they'd be done in like.
At least they don't have Olympic-style drug testing going into that one.
So wait, hold on a second. Here's my question.
Yes, they're both on steroids.
Okay.
A lot.
That was my question. But I thought Usman Polaris is he 185?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
okay.
He
He fought
lost to Alan Belcher.
Okay, yes.
Got his ass kicked. That was awesome.
That was an
such a great
amazing
moment.
fight. That's why I'm so high on Alan Belcher. It's not just the people that he's won. It's the way that he's won. He's just been so impressive, and a lot of people had him counted out in that fight against Usman Polaris, and that's a combination of people overestimating Usman Polaris because he's a one-trick pony if I've ever seen one. So, and doesn't understand basic ref commands. So a lot of people were picking him to win that fight. People really seem to associate their passion for him as a fighter because they think he's so cool because he's stocky and looks like the Incredible Hulk but brown. They think that means he's going to win, and it doesn't. I'm sorry, but that doesn't mean he's going to win at all. All right. Is there anything else MMA related that we can even talk about? Good God. Anything?
Oh, man. Well, we got Sarah McMahon. I think she's fighting Liz Camouche. They just announced that.
I like Liz Camouche. She tried to start a little campaign to get her to fight Ronda Rousey, but I think she needs to if she beats Sarah McMahon, I think it should happen. Because the division, it's so shallow right now. You got to kind of get them where you can. I don't think the Cyborg one is going to happen at all. I don't think it's ever going to happen. Cyborg took her ball and left. She's like, I'm taking my ball and I'm going home. So, good luck with you, Cyborg, trying to figure out what you're going to do. As you will end up on a reality TV show, much like China. I associate Cyborg with the MMA version of China.
Is Terrence babysitting or something?
Say what?
Is Terrence babysitting or something?
He's got kids.
That's just the neighborhood, man.
He's from Southeast, man. Come on now.
I'm on the battle lines, man. Hey.
Or at least he
tells
tells us
you're walking down M Street in Georgetown.
Yes, that's actually where he is. Like what you're hearing in the background, ruining his reputation right there. All right, Terrence. Well, thank you so much for calling in, man. We always love it when you call in. So. We'll probably wrap up the show here in a little bit, but I do want to. Do you have an email address, Terrence?
Yeah, sure.
Do me a favor and direct message it to me on Twitter because we're going to be starting up some games here soon, and I think you would enjoy being a part of them.
Okay.
All right, I'm recruiting you first. All right, man. All right,
guys.
Talk to you later.
Take care, Terrence.
All right, Terrence. Thank you.
So I think we basically ran through all MMA news. I was actually quite enjoying our television conversation. If you didn't notice, I'm responsible for the titles of the Untethered shows. So I've kind of formatted them all like the episode titles for It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia because I think it's cute. And they remind me a lot of the gang in that they're a lot more smarter than those guys, but they definitely go through some serious shenanigans on that show. But I named our episode today, which I think might be my new thing. It is the lyric from the Good Times theme song, "Hanging in a Chow Line." So that might be our thing now, and I have a vast knowledge of television theme show songs.
I just use a different one different line from Good Times every.
I mean, we probably could. We could do that probably for the next 50 or 60 episodes.
It'll be really obvious when you use Gilligan's Island.
Yeah. Let me see. Oh, yeah. I think we could use some good ones from that as well. Oh. Yeah, they should be like old school shows, though. No, don't make them like recent. Like Animaniacs theme song I could do. Chip and
Pinky
Dale.
and the Brain.
Oh, Pinky and the Brain. Oh, yeah. Oh, as a matter of fact, I was hanging out with
Facts of Life.
Oh, that's the only one that I don't actually know the lyrics to. And to be honest with you, I don't think anybody knows the lyrics to that song. I think everybody knows the part where they say the facts of life, and then nobody knows anything after that.
Next week's episode will be called "You Take the Good, You Take the Bad."
I think I think David has just taken my job from me. I think that's exactly what it's going to be. You take the good, you take the bad.
You
Silver
take them both, and there
spoons.
you have.
Silver spoons. We can do that one.
Yeah.
Like I really remember those. Different strokes. Oh yeah. These are some golden ideas here,
The
people.
Wonder Years.
Oh,
I never liked the Wonder Years. I don't know.
Oh, you go to hell.
I apparently I need to go to hell. I couldn't relate with it at all. It just seemed weird to me.
didn't the Wonder Years? They didn't use an original song. Wasn't it a cover of a Beatles song?
Yeah.
What would you do?
If I sang you a tune.
Yeah,
Yes, you're right.
we need originals.
Yeah, it's from
The Brady
Sgt.
Bunch.
Pepper's. It's Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Heart Club Band song.
Yeah, but didn't they use a cover version on that show, not the Beatles original?
Yeah. No, it is a cover.
Yeah, so I guess that one's out. Maybe I should have people tweet us television shows where I should use the.
All in the Family.
Oh wow, we're going racist. We're going uber racist, huh?
Those were the days.
How could I forget? Fish don't fry in the kitchen. Beans don't burn on the grill. We have to use that one, and that's the Jeffersons. Man, come on.
No. He just died.
Yeah, Sherman Helmsley. That makes me sad. Oh, Michael Clark Duncan. How crazy is that madness? This is actually kind of MMA related because he was a Gracie Jiu-Jitsu purple belt. So, and he was one of the originals, like big name stars to really start showing up to UFC events on a regular basis. Him and David Spade, for whatever reason, I don't understand that. I think that is the most confusing thing ever. Yeah, so if you didn't hear, and I'm sure you did, so Michael Clark Duncan, this was actually a few weeks ago that he collapsed at his home that he shares with his fiancée, Omarosa, who is, I'm trying to remember what was her first reality TV show. I don't even remember where she came from originally.
The Donald Trump show.
No, I think that was a follow-up, wasn't it?
No, I thought that's where she got her name started there.
Was it the Donald Trump show, or was it? Oh, let me look it up. But apparently they were engaged. She found him collapsed. She apparently performed CPR on him. Was able to resuscitate him. And then when the paramedics showed up, here we go. Wow, she has got a hell of a name. Good God, child. Good God. She's pretty enough. I was looking
She's doable.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, so she was on The Apprentice first, and then she was on a bunch of stuff.
Bunch of stuff's not worth watching.
Yeah. Wait a minute. Who? I'm sorry. I'm not even going to bother to read that. But she apparently she was able to resuscitate him. He was in the hospital for a while, and then he died on September 3rd. That's Michael Clark Duncan. For somebody who got into the acting business rather late, his first film was The Green Mile, if I'm not mistaken. So.
When did Friday came out before The Green Mile, right?
I don't think Michael Clark Duncan was on Friday. You're thinking of Zeus.
Oh, I just watched Friday the other day, and if you watch the scene where
oh no, you're right. It's an unaccredited.
He's playing dice with Debo.
Yeah,
That's his only scene in the movie, where it's like a flashback, where Chris Tucker's over top that guy going, "You got knocked the fuck out."
Yeah.
But in that scene, Michael Clark Duncan is one of the dudes playing dice.
David, I was just about to call Justin a racist right there because I was like, "How are you going to mix up Zeus with Michael Clark Duncan?" But you're right; it was an uncredited role that he had in the movie. He was also in the first.
I mean, just as being right here does not mean he's not a racist.
Okay, fair enough. But his first big role was in 1999 on The Green Mile with Tom Hanks and what's the other guy's name? Rockhold.
Luke Rockwell.
No, Luke wishes. But it's amazing. First off, that was an amazing movie, and I really liked it. And then he had a lot of high profile movies after that. The Whole Nine Yards with Bruce Willis. Let me see what Planet of the Apes. Racism at its worst, right there. The Scorpion King. Daredevil, yes. I'm trying not to name his just where he's done voice stuff, because he's done a lot of voice stuff as well. Like he's done voice stuff on The Proud Family, which was one of my favorite Disney animated shows. So y'all can suck it. And that and Kim Possible. Kim Possible was amazing. What else was he on?
Honey Boo Boo?
I mean, I feel like we all deserve a spot on Honey Boo Boo. He was also in Sin City, of course.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I loved Sin City. I love that movie so much. Wow, he's done so much stuff with his. I mean, it's understandable because he has such a distinct voice. Don't forget Talladega Nights, The Ballad of Ricky Bobby, School for Scoundrels. He's done stuff on Family Guy. I didn't realize that. I mean, it just kind of goes on and on and on. For somebody, again, who really did get started rather late in life as an actor, he managed to compile quite a little resume here. It's sad to see him go. He was only 54 years old. He was a big dude, though. He was a big dude. And, black people, we got all kinds of health issues. I don't know what it is with us. It's us and the Jews. We just got all kinds of health issues. What's up with that, David?
Some might suggest a conspiracy. Or various conspiracies.
It's part of my conspiracy to become the only person on this show.
He's a genocidal madman.
Touche, Kohi. Touche. That was a good one. All right. You win. I give up. You win.
And this is completely random, but just speaking of racism, I saw a comment on a friend's page from someone named Adolf, and I would have figured that was the name that died out, in 1945. Like, you got to really not like Jews to name your kid.
Yeah. Well, I saw this article, and I think they actually talked about it on Untethered, and I don't know if you heard it, but there's, and I am going to butcher this. I think it's a restaurant called Hitler.
I was so tempted to ask this.
Whoa, okay, I don't know about that.
It's in India, and apparently, the term Hitler has transformed into more of a, for lack of a better term, like a meme. Like it means something. Like it kind of means.
It means something.
Well, yeah, it does, but it doesn't mean to them what it means to like the rest of the world, which I don't understand. But
like Hitler's curry or something. like that sounds like I would never eat at that restaurant.
I know Hindus they use the swastika.
Yes, they do. They use the swastika.
That is true.
And I'm actually going to look at an article. As a matter of fact, I just saw an article saying that they are going to change the name because it was called Hitler's Cross. Was what it was called.
Probably bad PR.
In India.
I don't mean to be a really oversensitive Jew, but naming your establishment after Hitler might not be the best thing. Naming your kid Adolf, I don't get that either. There's so many names. Adolf. How do you know? I had my best friend in law school was German. I used to call him Adolf as a joke.
So I'm reading this article, right? And this is kind of off the beaten path, but I thought David might appreciate this. We all appreciate this. So, am I not mistaken that Delhi is like the largest populated city on Earth? It used to be New Delhi, right?
I think it's like the most densely populated. I mean, there's so much amount of space, and
so many people in space.
Yeah, literally, you're like walking shoulder to shoulder everywhere you go in New Delhi.
List of cities by population. Thank you, Wikipedia. No, Shanghai is up there, and then you got Istanbul. Okay, so Mumbai is actually number 4 on this list. Okay, by population, it's got over 12 million people. Right. Right. We all on the same page.
Sounds good.
All right. So
Sure.
this
Okay.
article is saying. This article is saying that this Hitler's Cross, there was an uproar by Mumbai's Jews. Okay, the Jews.
Both of them.
The Jews of Mumbai were upset. You might as well say both of them. There are 4,500 of them living in Mumbai. This is a city of over 12 million people, and 4,500 people.
That's fucking hilarious.
Are Jews, and apparently in the entire country of India, there are estimated 5,500 Jews. That is amazing. That is absolutely amazing.
I've never met a Jew who could trace his or her ancestry to India.
No, but I think that's amazing that they think there's 5,500 of them in India and 4,500 of them live in Mumbai. Of course, it looks like pretty much everybody lives in Mumbai, but
So if you're an Indian Jewish person, does that mean you can't eat beef or pork?
oh wow, that
Ooh.
is way too constricting on my diet right there. That's where I would change to Scientology.
But isn't the beef restriction related to their religion? So you would not be
But I would.
India, you'd be Jewish. So
But-
you follow Jewish dietary law.
Well, let me ask you this then, David. It seems like, though, that it's almost crossed over from religious to kind of a cultural thing, where it would be where you got over 12
Yeah,
million
you might
people.
have trouble if you tried eating
Yeah,
beef
I can't imagine
there.
that it's readily available. It's not
Yeah,
like you
I
can go
agree
buy
with that.
David,
hamburger.
do you eat bacon?
You know, I don't follow Jewish dietary law, but I have never knowingly eaten any form of pig.
Wow.
Some girls maybe, but
Oh,
animal variety.
Whoa! Snap.
whoa, oh, bada bing,
Oh.
bada bing.
Wow.
Good God, that was good. Yeah, this is a good one. I'm gonna have to write these down. We've had some good snappers in this one.
Man, that's dry heaved a little bit.
Oh, you just dry heaved a little bit. I mean, you know, we've all had those moments, right?
Exactly.
I think that's I think that's weird. But you know, I grew up in a household where we didn't have any, real dietary restrictions, other than, of course, once we get older, as Black people, we all become lactose intolerant. It's kind of part of our thing. Heart disease, lactose intolerant. Yeah, it's apparently being lactose intolerant is more prevalent.
I've heard
in,
Asian related to lactose intolerance,
it wouldn't surprise me, because you got to think.
like high rates.
Historically and culturally, I can't imagine that drinking milk is something that, they do a lot of over there, as I point over there. But apparently being lactose intolerant is extremely high in people of color. And I'm telling you, man, nobody in my house can drink milk. Like, nobody in my house can drink straight up milk. As a matter of fact, I think my mom is to the point now where she can't even do, like, regular cow's milk. She has to do, like, soy milk now. Like, we are...
That's not milk.
No, it's fake milk. It's silk is what it is.
Yeah, really.
It's
soy milk. Don't fucking try to give me soy milk.
We got that, and then we got...
Dude, I'm not going to lie. Like, Silk has their almond milk, like the vanilla-flavored almond milk. That is delicious.
Really? I think it all kind of tastes like breast milk. Not that I know what breast milk tastes like.
Okay, again, like, where is that coming from?
But when I sip it, that's what I imagine breast milk tastes like.
She can remember.
Yeah, it
Not
brings
long
me
ago.
way back. That's what happens. It gives me like a super flashback. Like a super, super flashback. It's a hell of a trip, man. I do it like a drug.
Okay, just because you brought up breast milk, my friend who was a nurse today, she was like telling me about something like really disgusting she used to have to do at work, or actually she works in pediatrics, so she still has to do this. She has to do something what's calling fortifying breast milk, where she literally has to scoop, like, I don't know, she says it's a fortifier, so I don't know if it's like a scoop of like ice cream or like protein powder or something, but then she has to mix it with like pre-pumped breast milk, and she says she was like, I swear to God, some breast milk is like green.
Oh, that is disgusting. That is
Yeah.
gross. Oh, suck it. That is awful.
Yeah.
Oh, now I'm nauseated now. Like, I am physically not feeling very well. Ew.
Well, now all I can think about is that Dave Chappelle skit where they were doing like that spoof of that rap show that oh God.
Oh, Cribs. MTV Cribs? No?
No, P. Diddy did that show where he was trying to put together a super rap group.
Yes. Making the Band. That's what it is.
Making the Band, yeah.
Yes.
And like, like every other week he was shutting down the studio, and he's like, I want you to go down to Queens, and I want you to fill these bottles up with Cambodian breast milk. And he's like clinking the bottles together, like, breast milk, you make my day.
Yeah. Oh, we miss Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle needs to come back, man. We are seriously lacking.
The funny thing is that he had that entire cast. Like, I'm getting off topic here, but this was something I'll remember forever. Is from that season of Making the Band was that Rastafarian dude Dylon. His name was spelled Dylan, but he pronounced it Dylon.
Dylon.
And so they had all of the original cast on the show except for Dylon, which Dave Chappelle played. And I just remember he and Wyclef. He was like, either you're gonna make this track or you're not gonna make this track. And Dylon just starts choking him. It's like, you're too close, man. You're too close.
Didn't he talk about himself in the third person as well, if I remember correctly?
Name the 5 best rappers alive. Dylon, 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 and Dylon.
That was first season too, wasn't it, of Dave Chappelle's show? Was that first season?
The first or second season. There was that one, and then they did like the Real World, but they called it the Mad Real World.
Yes.
It was like one white guy in a house of a bunch of black people.
And then he ends up getting stabbed.
That one was bad.
The worst part was when he brought his girlfriend to visit, and she ended up sleeping with his roommates in the same room, mind you. They were sharing a room.
It's like, yeah, this is my man Lysol. It's like, why is his name Lysol?
It was
It was the guy from the Roots, the drummer from the Roots.
Yes. Was it Questlove? Was that who it was? I think it might have been Questlove, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh my God! Speaking of the Roots, I'm sorry. Where I went to school at Washington College in Chestertown, Maryland, which is a very small liberal arts school. There's maybe 1,500 kids in the entire school, and I would probably venture to say that upwards of 90% of them are white. And then the people who weren't white were generally foreign exchange students. So like every fall and every spring, each semester we would have one free concert at our school, which was just really cool because they got some decent bands, like 3 Years Down. I think OAR came on here, Jason Mraz, like straight white people music.
Right.
But then one year they got the Roots to come.
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. White college kids love the Roots. The Roots is where
but then I kind of felt like that the Roots were kind of like, why are we here?
To make money.
Yeah. Well, there we go.
There we go. That's why Snoop Dogg showed up at I think
Snoop Lion. It's Snoop Lion.
Oh,
now.
I'm sorry, Snoop Lion. Oh, that's ridiculous. That is absolutely ridiculous. I don't know. Who let him do that? David, is there a point where you can smoke that much pot where you make decisions like that? I don't know. I think
do not blame this on pot.
No, I think this has to be something else. It has to be some other drug, possibly bath salts.
It's the drug called God. Wasn't that what you said? That's the biggest drug of them all.
Oh, God, it's just awful. It really is. It's just simply awful. Thank you, Snoop Dogg.
When is David going to do an online review of the new Bob Dylan record?
Oh.
I have to listen to it somewhere. I've had some published reviews.
I almost wanted to hide you the other day off of my Facebook profile just for 6 hours so that I could scroll through my Facebook timeline without it being a Bob Dylan lyric.
Yeah, no, I mean there was a point where that was impossible. So, but I accept it. It's that's what he loves. He loves Bob Dylan, and I love David, so I accept it.
That was my transcription, real-time transcription, Dylan to English. You don't know how hard that is. You might know how hard that is if you ever heard a Dylan song. It's fucking not easy figuring out what the hell he's saying. All right, that was real-time shit.
I mean, kudos to you, man. I don't think most of us could do that at all. Anything else, guys, we want to mention before we start packing this bad boy up?
Can I recircle to the original thing that we started talking about the pacing of Breaking Bad?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I'll keep this quick. That's what she said. Or he said. Well, that's probably not a good thing to say.
Depends.
I love it.
In the morning?
When we were he was saying, when your friend was saying that the pacing of Breaking Bad was slow, and that if you're going to get into that, that's probably a good kind of segue into The Wire. In all honesty, I was shocked at how fast the pacing of Breaking Bad is. Like, watching the first season, he finds out he has cancer, and then, it's pretty obvious that he's trying to hide it from his family, but then he tells them pretty quickly.
Keep in mind the first season was the victim of the strike. It would have been longer.
Well, I understand that it would have been longer, but he still told them, like, within the first, 2 to 3 episodes.
Right.
And, I don't know, I felt like, and then at the end of season 1, when they still had that relationship with Tuco, there's no, cliffhanger. There's an immediate kind of happening, they walk away, and that's it. That's the end of the first season, which, right. I mean, that's probably, speaks more to the writer's strike than anything, but everything as far as that I've seen with Breaking Bad, it's been really quick to kind of have, some sort of resolution or some sort of conflict from a potential issue. I'm in the middle of the second season, and already it's, Elliot and his wife are already, saying, oh, we're not going to be helping you pay for your treatments anymore, even though they weren't. But it's
right.
It was there was that dinner, and then that was it. I was like,
no,
well,
I mean, yeah, that first season, I don't know. There was, I'd seen bits and pieces of Breaking Bad, so there were parts that I was anticipating. I was kind of waiting for them to happen, and it did not. It did not happen as quickly as I thought it should or was going to. So I don't know. Yeah.
Does Skylar get any more likable? Because I don't like her at all.
I don't understand why people don't like her. I really don't.
I cannot stand her.
I don't understand it.
Erica knows that.
I don't.
It's the worst.
Nobody likes her except for me and one other person. Because I completely understand everything that she's done.
Erica,
everything.
But not everything though. I mean, it's the way she's written. There are a few things. First of all, she smokes cigarettes while she's pregnant. I don't know.
That was my big one right there. You already have one son who's a window licker. Why are you trying to have a second one?
Oh my God! Did you really?
There's that, and then there's, and Justin may not have seen this, but there's I fuck Ted. She commits adultery because she wants to, and out of
damn it! Why did you do that?
He hasn't gotten that far yet.
So how can we even discuss the series? I'm sorry.
I said middle of season 2.
I don't remember.
It doesn't. It's not really.
It doesn't matter. I'm not ruining anything for you.
Yeah,
Justin.
No, it doesn't really ruin anything. It doesn't ruin
Jesus
anything,
Christ.
Justin.
She's a fucking whore.
I understand.
Where I'm at in the show, she just got her bookkeeping job back with this dude who apparently made some advance at her at a Christmas party. So I knew there was going to be some sort of weirdness going to be eventually happening. But damn it, David.
I apologize. I'm sorry, Justin.
I still understand everything she did. I don't think they were right. Don't get me wrong. I don't think they were right, but I can't. I can't say that anyone else would have really acted any differently in those situations. I mean, none of us really know, unless you do know. I mean, I'm sure there are some people out there that do know, unfortunately. But, living with somebody who's terminally ill, and then on top of that, it's not only is the stress of that, but then there's the stress of, you are the mother of a son who is handy-capable.
There are reasons for the way she acts, but I still don't like her. And,
that's fine.
I think she could react differently. I found her cold at the beginning of the series as well.
I find her to be very smug. I don't enjoy smugness.
I think cold is a better description than smug. I don't know if she was really smug, but cold, I'll give you.
Yeah, not a real warm person.
But wasn't that them trying to give you? Weren't they supposed to start off as kind of that family, that kind of dynamic?
I'm just saying, I just don't like her.
I get it.
And I find they're hypocritical, but I don't want to get into that because that'll spoil things.
Yes. Okay. All right. So, we're going to go ahead and close up shop anyway, because.
All right, I got to go watch the rest of the second season. There's my night right there.
I know. Our Friday night.
Once you start the third, you're not going to stop.
No, you really are. It's an amazing show, and if you haven't watched it,
She better commit adultery in the next episode, or I'm going to be pissed.
I'm closing it on that.
Just
right
wait
there.
for the episode called IFT.
All right, guys. All right, we'll talk to everybody next Friday. Same bat time, same bat channel. Here on Fight Fans Radio.